What's up everyone, my name is Nick and I am a super nice guy. And today I'm here to talk about using inspiration as a digital designer and how I utilize Figma to utilize my own inspiration. Although I use Figma, you can use any design tool you want for the purposes of applying my approach. First off, why might someone want to gather inspiration? Well, there are a few benefits, including speeding up ideation, improving art direction, clarity, training your eye to identify specific styles that you might want to replicate, or familiarizing yourself with certain design challenges that others might have handled already in their products or websites. I'm making this video because when I was a design student, I really didn't feel like I had adequate exposure to inspiration sources that would encourage my design decisions. And even after getting into the professional world, I still didn't feel like I had the right amount of structure set to apply inspiration to the work I was doing. And so I'm gonna walk through my approach, some resources that I use, and how I use Figma to make it all efficient for me. Jumping on into it, so going into Figma or whatever tool that you're using, I have a file that I just call inspiration. And in Figma, this is all handled locally inside the app, and so that's where this file lives, just inside my drafts folder. And so going into inspiration, I have a lot of things cataloged on the left hand side, and this is just how I set it up. You can apply sort of your own approach to this, but generally what I do is I create a section that applies to work I'm currently active in. And so in this case, there are screens that are related to driving and logistics and GPSing and things like that. I also have a section for UX things, and this is just to catalog specific UX artifacts, maps, approaches, things that can help guide workshops that I might be giving and that I can reference back to. But moving on to the visual resources, pages and screens make up the first section. I start atomically sort of at the largest level, pages or screens of an app, and then I go and get a little bit more detailed and look at specific components and modules. You'll notice I have all the pages named out properly. If I happen to see a landing page, I will grab it and pull it in here. If there's a lot of animation or things like that, I will link to the actual source so that I can view it again. And if I zoom out here, you'll see that I have quite a bit of landing pages, and some of these were inspiration sources I used on past works, and a lot of them, in fact most of them, were me just responding to them naturally, finding them on the web, thinking they looked good, and pulling them in. I have various pages like pricing and blog and article detail. Then going down into components, I have a general section. In this case, I was just pulling in cards quickly and looking at card styles and typography, but there were instances where I was designing a calendar module or component and looked at, in this case, Slack's use of a date picker, date ranges, and things like that. And so even as I'm using tools, I'm constantly analyzing them for how they function so that later they may impact decisions that I make or help me navigate through some uncharted waters. Another example is the search, sort, and filter area here, where I was looking at different ways search bars could function and how they might take over the full screen or how they might have a drop-down style. I also looked at Slack. They had an interesting and pretty robust search and filtering capability, and so I was documenting that here. And so this just goes on to show how whatever I'm using in my day-to-day, I'm constantly analyzing and criticizing, or being critical, I should say, of what I'm looking at and understanding, is this good? Why is it good? And do I want to reference this later? To quickly talk about why I gather inspiration here, it's not so that I can replicate something one-to-one or copy it, although that was an exercise I would do when I was in design school. I don't so much do that anymore as a professional. What I do is look at the way things were designed. If I am responding in a positive way to a design, I ask myself why. And so what elements make this page look good to me? What makes this design strong and functional or beautiful? And so I would say that I really enjoy the hierarchy. This headline text style is really big and bold, and there's a lot of contrast. I like that it's maybe pure black. I like that there aren't any flat colors. It's all gradations. It's done in a really delightful way. I might like the actual card style, the rounded corners, and so I look at these things specifically. The padding for this bottom portion of the card gives a lot of focus and clarity to the content. The color system for these labels or tags, or the way that the date has been de-emphasized and made gray and a lighter weight than the bolder headline text. And so when I'm grabbing inspiration, there's always intent behind it. What am I getting from this? What do I appreciate? What can I use in my own work? Now that I've covered how I use inspiration and how I go about organizing it, I'm going to share some of my favorite resources. First off, we have Dribbble. Dribbble is just a social media platform for digital designers to share their work, and it's full of really shiny things.
Really shiny?
Yeah.
You can come here and look at various categories like product design and web design, or you can search for specific pages that you might be working on at that moment. There is one thing to note for the new designer, which is a lot of this might look great, but it might not function or have thought out UX. One way to get around that is to use agencies as a sort of guiding star. You can almost rest assured that whatever work they're putting out is either a real product that's being shipped or it's been designed by professionals that create real products every day. I have a couple here like Kuberto and Wayno, just to list a couple of really great ones, but I would recommend following much more than just these two. And one last thing to note here is that even if the work falls short of sound UX, it's still a great place to come and see how other designers are presenting their work, how they're laying out screens and stylizing them and using colored backgrounds. It's all very valuable stuff visually. Next up, in my absolute favorite resource hands down, is Mobbin, and it's a collection of real apps all pulled into one website so you can quickly look them up and check out the screens relating to that app. This can be super useful if, say, you're looking up a user flow of something like Uber and you don't want to have to actually create an account and order a ride and go through a transaction. Here you can quickly pull up the screen you're thinking about and see how it works and line it up in a user flow and copy the image and pull it to wherever you need it. The only thing to note here is that Mobbin does cost money. I do pay $36 every 3 months, but I totally think it's worth it. Next up, we have Webframe. This is just a collection of websites and web apps that are out there organized by page or by product. So you can quickly come in here and look at, say, a login page and get a bunch of different items populated there, or we can come down and click on specific products and see either their application or their website. Next on the list, we have something called Muzli.
What did you say?
At least I think that's how you say it. It's made by the folks at Envision. It's a browser extension that will just take over your homepage or your new tabs with trending and recent design things happening around the web. And on the topic of browser extensions, if you ever find yourself wanting to capture a full website, this one here is great. It's free. There are probably others, but if you see a page you like, you just hit the little camera button and then it generates a rasterized image that you can copy and pull into whatever you need it for. This last resource here is one by a designer I've followed for a few years now, Nguyen, and he has this stash of just a bunch of great things, from design thinking and fundamentals to salary for designers and lists of agencies and things like that. And I do recommend following along with this designer. This list has evolved over the years, and I'll probably actually check it out again to see what's changed. And so that's how I gather inspiration and use it in my own work. If you found this video useful, let me know in the comments, and please remember to like and subscribe so that you can stay on top of all the awesome design stuff I'll be putting out every single week. Until next time, super nice guy out.